Hey y'all, it's Megan. Welcome back to the channel. Glad y'all are here today. Today's video is probably going to be a little bit different than what y'all were used to seeing, but I thought we'd talk about a few things today, and while I'm doing it, I'm going to be wandering around doing my evening chores. I'll give you a little update on some of the animals here. I'm down here with our little piggies. I've got them some leftover milk. I'm going to make them a little slop here. They've been doing really good, getting used to us. You know, they haven't been here but a few days. I like to pour it in the bucket like that. I'll scoop them some feed in there. Yum, yum. They sure are looking good. Is you good? So one thing I wanted to talk about today is about our animals that are here and their jobs. All of our animals here, including those two roosters, everybody, well, for the most part, has a job. The pig's job, of course, is to feed us in the fall and in the winter. That's their sole purpose here. Me and Andy grew up butchering animals. My family more so deer than raising. We raised pigs when I was young, but it was mainly deer when I got older. And Andy and his family has always raised pigs. And you kind of got to keep in your mindset, and some people are probably not going to like this, but they're not pets. You have to keep that in your mind. These pigs, yes, I may fool some people and because I talk to them like they're babies. I do the same thing to my cows, and that's just how I talk to animals. I'm a huge animal lover. And as you've heard us say and seen in the videos, I make sure, even though I know what these animals' end goals are, they're gonna live the best life that I know how to give them anyway. And so, like I said, these pigs are not pets. The kids have always grew up the way that you see us living now. Jacob's 9, Maggie's 7. They don't know any better. They know that these pigs are here for food. They know those roosters we had, that their end goal, if they made it that long without something getting them, is we were eventually going to process them. Same with anything, just like Hamburger up there. I feed that cow treats every day. I probably shouldn't do that, but I do. And he will be our beef at some point this year, and as much as, you know, I hate to see him go, it just is what it is. You got to mentally differentiate between pets and your farm animals. You just have to. Because it would, for your mind's sake, if you're going to raise your own food like we do here, like with these pigs, I can't think of them as pets. They're here for one job and one job only. And, you know, come this fall, they'll fulfill that job. So let's wander on up to the chickens. But before I wander all the way up to the chickens, it brings me to my next point. We've got Lovey, the weather. I guess that's how you say it. He is a goat that has been steered. You know, back when we used to raise a lot of goats, if you've been around since the very, very beginning, you remember them goats. Goats are not for us. I'll leave it at that. But he doesn't really have a job anymore. He is a pet. Honestly, financially speaking, and grass speaking, this is not a good way to make my homestead self-sufficient. It's just not. This is an extra mouth to feed that's not doing near a bit of good. I'm sorry, Lovey, if you take offense to this. He knows, though. He knows. Lovey is a pet. And back when I used to raise those goats, before, and I knew this, you know, but I had to learn the hard way. I had this mama goat, y'all. It was Lovey's mama. I give her 3 chances. I think it was 3 chances. Not near time did she take her babies. And I finally said, okay, I have fed this goat for 3 years and she ain't done nothing for me. And I ended up at that point actually getting rid of all my goats except for Lovey, and I did have a old billy goat that I kept, but he's passed on now. We had him for a long time. But me throwing all that feed and time and money and effort, not counting the money that I had to spend on the babies for the milk and so on and so forth, because that's before I had a milk cow. That was a bad decision. That was a terrible decision. But I let my mind get in the way. I was like, well, I really like this goat and so on and so forth. She's sweet. She's just a terrible mama. She does me no good here. And that sounds kind of heartless, but it's the truth. So anyways, that's something to think about. If you find yourself in that situation, sometimes you just have to detach yourself, because what we do when we keep pets instead of farm animals, instead of livestock that are here to have a job, is we, instead of tying ourselves to the grocery store, we're tying ourselves to the feed store. And that's something I want you to think about. You'll be feeding animals that are doing you not a bit of good. So I'm sorry, Lovey, I do love you. And he knows that, that's why he's still here. But on to the chickens. What y'all doing? So now on to my chickens. What is my chicken's job? Of course, their job is to provide us with eggs. But their main job, actually, is not the eggs. The eggs is a nice byproduct. But with our mobile house here, they make excellent fertilizer for my cow pasture. Once we move them back out into the pasture, they are my natural fertilizer to make my grass grow for my cows. That's their biggest thing. And also, I have one occasionally go broody, and as y'all saw the other day with the 2 roosters, free chicken. Whether it be hens or roosters, hens to replace laying hens or roosters to eat. That's their job. 3 jobs right here for my chickies. And also, while they're in their winter coop here, they are making us some fabulous growing space. We plan to use this hopefully as a growing space, as a garden for this summer. So they'll be moving out probably in another month or so, and we'll be putting them back out on the pasture. But again, these chickens, they're not pets. If your chickens are your pets, that's cool too, that's fine. But I try not to get attached to them. Things happen, and they're here to do a job, and that's their job on my farm. So I'm not feeding them for no reason. I guess that's what I should say. Once my hens age out, I usually keep them 2 to 3 years old, and then I replenish my hens, because at that point, they aren't laying me enough eggs to justify feeding them as much as I have to feed them. And I kind of try to weigh that out. And what I do, most of the time I don't process them. I stick them on Facebook for free. I let people know how old they are and that they've slowed up laying. And you know what? Most people are okay with that. Free chickens, you know. And that's what I do, and send them on to a different home. So I've done that for many years. But another hard decision that we had to make here, which a lot of you may not know if you haven't been around since last year, is I used to run around 50 to 70 laying hens. Yes, you heard me right. It was a lot. And we had them in that big mobile coop that we moved around the pasture. We did that for probably 4 or 5 years, trying to get a market for pasture-raised eggs around here. And it just didn't work. It didn't happen. I couldn't sell enough eggs to pay for my feed. I was undercutting myself for years, not even selling enough, charging enough for the eggs to pay for my time and the feed that went into them. And finally last year, me and Andy were like, you know what, this is crazy. We're literally pretty much going in the hole selling eggs. And so we quit selling eggs and haven't missed it. And they've provided us plenty of eggs this winter. We had a little lull in eggs, but guess what? We just didn't eat eggs for a few weeks. It was fine. It was totally fine. I didn't make any cakes and we just didn't eat any eggs. And they picked back up and are doing just fine. So that's something else I want you to think about, because I know sometimes when people are new to this life, you're ready to go gung-ho, farmer's market, selling stuff, and that is wonderful, and I wish you the best of luck. But it's okay to realize when you need to cut back. My dream was always to have a farm store and sell my produce and my eggs and my chickens and beef and stuff like that. And then, you know, you finally come to reality and realize that I probably wouldn't make it if I did that. Not in this area. What you doing, buddy? I had some people ask me some questions about my old rooster here. He's actually probably 5 years old, and he's so beautiful, but he was supposed to be, I think he was supposed to be an Isa brown hen. It was one of them Tractor Supply deals, and he was a rooster, and I thought his color was so unique and so beautiful, and so I hang on to him. And he's not mean. I don't believe he's got a mean bone in his body. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention those things you hear squawking in the background. The guineas. So they don't lay eggs. They're both males. I did have some females. They all wouldn't stay in the net, so nature took its course on them. But the two males, had them, oh my gosh, they're probably 5 years old too. But they are my watchdogs for my chickens. They do a good job with aerial predators and things like that. And they're the last ones to go up at night. They walk around and make sure all the chickens are up. They're just really, really good watchdogs, and that's their job. How many we got today? 6. Wonderful. Next ones. All right, the next ones on the list, of course, are my sweet babies, as I call them. And that's my cows. Yes, I talk to them like they are babies, and I do baby them somewhat. But again, I have to, look, she hears me talking. But again, this is something I have to keep in my mind. They are not pets, they are livestock. They are two totally different things. If they don't fulfill their job here, then they don't have a place here. And I have to remind myself of my own advice more than y'all know, but it's true. Their job here, well, they make us this beautiful compost in this little sacrifice pasture, and we make a lot of it. But their job here is to provide us with either calves that we can sell or beef that we can sell. And of course, Candy's job is she's the milk cow, and she feeds more than just us. As you've heard us say in other videos, she feeds every animal on this farm, as well as providing us with beef. But if you've got a cow doing what I was talking about my goat a while ago, if you've got a cow that just ain't a good mama, and every time she has a calf, she has issues, or you're having to bottle feed these calves by, you're forced to bottle feed them, it ain't by your choice, it may be time for her to go, no matter how much you love her, how much you want to keep her, because you'll put yourself in a bind, and there you'll be tied to that feed store. And one thing with these cows, I do feed from the store. I'm not saying that. But at least with a cow, if I absolutely had to, they could live off grass and hay, which we have access to plenty of when we've got the equipment to do it. Now, they might not be in the best shape on grass and hay, because believe it or not, there are some cows that are not meant to be grass-fed cows, but that's another discussion for another day. But if they had to, they might look poor, but they could possibly live off of grass and hay. But I do feed them. I like my cows to have some meat on their bones. But that's their job. Hamburger's job is he's going to be beef here soon. Does that make me sad? Yes, it absolutely does. But I know in my mind that, I mean, from the time he was born, I knew that's what he would eventually be. Just like Ribeye, the newest little steer that we have, his job here, he will be beef next year. And I know that from the time he came out and I saw he was a boy. That's his job. And one other thing I wanted to mention about my cows, about the being the good mama part. I made a bad financial decision with one of these cows, the one we call Black Star. Financially, for the farm or homestead, or whatever you want to call it, it was not the best decision. She was a bottle baby from Andy's daddy's cows. Her mama passed. We took her in, and originally she was going to be beef. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because there we go. Mine was getting in the way, and I told Andy, I said, we got to give her a chance. We got to give her a chance. Let her see if she can be a good mama, and then we'll make our decision. Because I'm going to tell you, if she hadn't have been a good mama, if something happened when she was having that baby, she would have been beef. But let me tell you why, you know, you're probably thinking, well, Meagan, she's doing fine. She had her baby. Everything, you know, she's a wonderful mama. You just don't know how much it made my day that she really is. She's a great mama. She had a nice, healthy calf. But that cow is 3 years old, maybe 3.5 now. I had to feed her for 3.5 years, and I still ain't got no profit out of her yet because I ain't sold the baby or whatever we're going to do with it. We ain't decided if we're going to sell her or keep her, but 3.5 years of feeding that cow before I got anything out of her. So, was not the best financial decision on my part. I'm glad I gave her a chance because I love her so good. But I guess you kind of gotta, it's like a seesaw. You gotta figure out what you're willing to throw money into and what you just really is not a great financial decision. And my other not so great financial decision is right over here. So this is my other not so great financial decision, is my horses. They serve no job here except for making mama and the youngins happy. Quasi here, the red horse, I've had him since he was 4, and he's 30 or maybe a little older now. And then Ty here, he's also around 30 or a little older, and I've had him for probably the last 15 years, something like that. But you know what? They're great old horses for the kids to learn on, but where they're old, again, they have to eat special feed. You don't like me fussing about you? Huh? Is that what it is? You don't want me fussing about you? Huh? But they eat feed that's they eat feed that's not cheap, and they eat a lot of it because especially Quasi here, he's not able to eat hay anymore, and so I have to feed him a lot and a specialty feed. So financially, that ain't the best choice if you're really trying to turn a profit with animals. And like I said, we're not doing anything with them. They don't pull plows. They don't do anything. We ride them just occasionally. They're just here for sheer enjoyment because Mama, Maggie, and Jacob, we love on them. And Maggie comes down here and keeps them good and brushed. And, you know, that's worth something. That's their job. Their job is to make us smile, ain't it? Yeah. Yeah, right. Who knocked the feed trough against the fence? Probably. Because I touched it with my shoe. Here, sit here. Set hers over here somewhere. Because if it's on top of them other cows. Now, you got Candy some feeding hers?
Yep.
All right. Come on, darlings.
Did you see me? I threw a treat in there.
Come on, babies. Yeah, my sweet babies.
Come on, Candy.
Go on in there, girlfriend.
Look, Candy, don't knock the camera over.
Why are you so dirty today?
Was you laying down in the mud? Yeah, I saw you when you was laying down in the mud. Oh.
And one other thing about the horses, just like I was talking about earlier, guess what that does? The horses having to eat specialty feed, they can't eat hay anymore. We are married to the feed store. Married to the feed store. So that is not a, sustainable thing. If the feed store were to go away, I'd have a hard time. Which we have ground them homemade feed and give to them some. I would just have to figure out how much of that I would need to feed them all the time.
Minutes. Oh, look, that's just the little man is playing. Look.
I see them. And right now with her calf, I'm not pulling him off at all. He's on her 24 hours a day, so I just kind of get the leftover milk. But eventually to get milk, I will have to pull him off.
She'll probably eat around this corner, right?
Probably.
She's like, I know that miss a bit of feed, right?
Probably so. Here, Candy girl. Good job. Candy! Here, baby. Good job. All right. Let me out. Hey, Tiger. Come on. Come on. Come on, Tiger. Hey, get these cows out of here. Get them out. Get them out of here. Go on now, Black Star. Y'all get on out of here. There's a traffic jam. Good job, girl. Hey, good job. There you go.
What is it?
Candy.
I don't have none. I don't have none. I don't have none. I'm just standing right here watching. I don't have none.
Hey, go on out now. Everybody out. Everybody out. Go on ahead, girl.
But there's a traffic jam.
Go on now, Candy. He's coming. Little man. Now you got to go on out too, sir. Go with Mama. Good job, Candy girl. We ain't turning around. Good job, girl. Good job. Good job. Yeah, go on now. Go on. Good job, girl. And so as you just seen, Miss Tiger here, she also has a job. She's a real good farm dog. Most of this we didn't train her to do. She just kind of does it and does a good job. She keeps my chickens up and helps me with my cows, and she makes a real good companion, looks after my youngins. You just a good dog, ain't you, girl? Except for the skunks. She got sprayed again, y'all. Fourth time, didn't you? Yeah, but I still love you anyway. Still love you anyway, yes. So we're over here at the meat birds, so I'll give y'all a quick look at them. They're still in the brooder house right now. We've got one more night coming up, actually tonight, that's gonna be below freezing. My poor little peach blooms are probably gonna get got. So I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna move them out to pasture here in the next day or two. That's the plan anyway. I just wanted this one more cold night to get over before I put them out, but they hadn't had a heat lamp on in probably a week. You know, I've been keeping their windows open so they can get used to the cooler nights and not just, you know, throw them out there after being in a hot brooder house. So I'll show y'all what they look like. I'll have to give them some water, I'm sure. You got drunk all your water? You can see they are large. They have grown a lot. And I have only lost 2. So one of them, I mean, that happens with these birds. It's nothing honestly unusual. But I've lost 2. But that was 2 of the little bitty ones. And other than that, the rest of them are good and healthy. Don't come out, don't come out. You're not gonna let them come out, are you, girl? But, yep, out to pasture hopefully tomorrow or the next day, because I need to get them out of this house. So I will tell you, with the Cornish cross, this is another thing that ties us to the feed store. And I realize that because, I'm gonna tell you why. They've got to have that really high protein feed. We tried, y'all, one year to make feed for them to see if we could come up with our own mixture for the Cornish cross. And the way they're bred, the way they grow, it just didn't work out. We lost probably half of them that year. It was not good, no good. And it was because of the feed, and we realize that now. But this is more of what you would call a luxury here. That's why it's important to keep in your mind and to practice doing backyard roosters, spent hens, because that is a sustainable source of chicken. These Cornish cross are absolutely not. So like I said, they're more of a luxury here because we do enjoy the tenderness, the size. They have large breasts, a lot of white meat on them, more so than roosters or spent hens. So those are our luxury item, and they do, unfortunately though, tie us to the feed store. But again, their job will be, once they go out to the pasture, free fertilizer, because I will move them every day, and that's free fertilizer for the pasture, and of course chicken for the freezer. And then last but not least of the animals are my kitty cats. That's Maxwell stretched out there. Our cats have a major job here. They keep the rats out of our feed, because with this much livestock, you're gonna have rats. And my cats do a phenomenal job keeping away the rats. They're not house cats. They don't go in the house. They fulfill their job of keeping the rats out. They run loose and they do their thing. And they're very good at it. The voles kind of trick them sometimes, but as far as the rats go, I don't have mice get in my house. I don't have rats get in any of my feed, not down at the pigs, not in my building. No rats in my potatoes. You know, they do their job and they do it well. So anyways, guys, I know today's video was like totally different than what we normally do. And maybe some people don't know to think of things like that, especially if you're new to doing this. You know, there's so much to learn, and I'm hoping that I can help y'all not learn the hard way like we had to. And are there better financial decisions that we could make here as far as the animals? Absolutely. You just got to kind of play it by ear and do what's best for you. And as long as your family is happy and you're happy and your kids are happy and you're fed and got a roof over your head, that's all that matters anyway, right? Happiness is the goal. So anyways, guys, I've got to run out and help my neighbor out a little bit. That's going to bring me one more tip before I end this video. Be sure you're being a good neighbor. If you want good neighbors, be sure to be a good neighbor. But anyways, guys, I'm going to leave you with that thought until we see y'all on the next one. Y'all have a good one.